I told him I'd like to join the Spirit of St. Louis. And back then, you know, processes were very popular then. So I had a process. I said, if you want to join a corps, you got to cut that hair off. So I cut it all off and came back and they said, he's very serious about being in the drum corps. And so that's where it started, because in drum corps, they teach you how to read music out. So I learned how to read one drum.
Something could happen on this show. You never can tell.
Hi, everybody. Pam Police here from the Dick Biondi Film. I'm the director of this new documentary coming out about one of the greatest disc jockeys of all time, Dick Biondi. And with me today is my director of communications and marketing and the co-host of the show, Mr. Joe Farina. Hi, Joe. How are you?
Hi, Pam. I'm doing great. Thank you very much. It's great to see you. Always great to see you. And hope everybody out there is doing well, enjoying this summer weather, things opening up, people getting out, going to see shows.
So
must
exciting.
just feeling great. Before we introduce our very special guest, I just need to make a few announcements here. Be sure to check out the Dick Biondi Film website, dickbiondifilm.com. Also, join our Facebook group, like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And for those of you who may or may not know, we do have a big announcement that we're about to do. We're just waiting for a few things to kind of get finalized and all that. But when we do, be sure to go to our Facebook group and our Facebook page, because we'll be making the huge announcement on those pages. And believe me, it's going to be big.
Oh, yeah. And if you want to sign up for our newsletter, please go to dickbiondifilm.com and hit the contact page, and you can sign up and we'll send you all the news about the Dick Biondi Film.
Absolutely. You don't want to miss it. All right, let's get to our very special guest here. He is a 5-time award-winning blues drummer. He's been inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame on 2 separate occasions. He was on the cover of Blues Blast magazine. Just an extremely talented musician, extremely talented drummer, and we are just so honored and thrilled to have on our show Mr. Merle Perkins. Merle, welcome.
Thank you for having me here. I'm glad to do this interview.
And Merle is my dear friend. I've known him for many years. And Merle actually was my mentor when I was learning to play the drums back in, I don't know, what year, Merle? Do you even know? I don't know when that was.
Wow, that was, I met you at the, can't even think of the name of that club. What is,
Gosh.
and I think it's Brookfield on Harlem Avenue Club. Yeah, that's where I met you at.
Yeah.
And then we gave you a few drum lessons, would come and give you some drum lessons. And you did play in, was that a jump band? I came to see you a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
have a photo.
Merle's been a great friend to me, let me tell you. And wow, this guy is super guy, super nice. One of the greatest human beings, honest to God, really a sweet guy. So thank you for being with us today, Merle. We really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. You did some great things for me, too. You're the first one that did my CDs and DVDs. And I call it an interview, but I call it a documentary. Did a great job. And I could show maybe the first CD and the DVD that you did for me. those were the first one that you did for me.
Yeah, well, it was my pleasure. I
You
enjoyed
know,
doing it. So Merle, you grew up in Kansas City, Kansas. Is that right?
right.
And your mother was a very special lady, and I know you miss her.
Yeah. And as I think about her all the time. She was a dad and a mom to me. She raised me all by herself. You know, I never even knew my dad.
Did she kind of, you know, get you into the drums, or did she encourage you to do the drums?
When I was little, she would take me to parades, and then she said when the drums came by, I kept stomping my feet more, you know, but she had no idea that I like drums. She used to be like a singer for like Sarah Vaughan, and she make her own clothes and stuff back then. I was kind of little. I was 10 years old when she was doing that, but I do remember her making her own clothes. But what happened is she met a boyfriend and he got a job in St. Louis, Missouri. And so we moved to St. Louis, Missouri in 1956. I was 11 years old when we moved there. And I seen the drum corps coming by, marching in a straight line and going to practice at this school. And so I went over there and I watched them, and I said, I'd like to do that, you know. But this is when I was younger. And then when we moved from where we're at, farther out on a street called Eastern Avenue, I joined the church drum corps, which was a small drum corps called Pleasant Green. And that was in 1962. And then what they did there on Kings Highway and Page Avenue on Memorial Day, they would march and go to summer high school. And so when I seen the Spirit of St. Louis, it kind of blew me away because they were a very popular senior corps then. And so I said, I'd like to be in that drum corps there. And so I did go to their rehearsal and told them I'd like to join the Spirit of St. Louis. And back then, you know, processes were very popular then. So I had a process, and I'll show you the picture, which is called a pompadour.
That's a great
I had this. And so the drum corps back then was called VFW military. And so the guy said, if you want to join a corps, you got to cut that hair off. So I cut it all off and came back, and they said, he's very serious about being in the drum corps. And so that's where it started, me being in drum corps, because in drum corps, they teach you how to read the music. They write the music out. So I learned how to run drum there when I was in drum corps.
So, well, what brought you to Chicago, Merle?
Well, it was a friend of mine's there in Chicago, in St. Louis, that would influence me to come to Chicago because I was hanging with the wrong crowd and getting in trouble. That's the reason why I left St. Louis. I had to get out of there, you know, and then moved to Chicago. When I got to Chicago, you know, I was downtown. I mean, I never seen big tall buildings. I said, wow, you know, my mother gave me $20, and that $20 ran out. And I called her. I said, Mom, I need some more money. And she said, son, you're on your own. You got to learn. You're on your own. So I had finally caught up with my friend, and we hooked up, and we went on 63rd and Cottage Grove. And it was a girl in there that was nice looking I wanted to talk to. And so I went over to her, and she asked me, buy me a beer? And I said, well, I ain't had no money. So I told her, look, I just got here. I don't have no money. You know, I wanted to be somebody. And she said, well, why didn't you tell me? So she bought me a beer and bought me cigarettes, and then wrote me on the train. I had never been on the L train. And then she gave me money to Rainbow Push, and I found me a job. Saved my money, bought me a little 55 Chevrolet, went back to St. Louis, and I brought my mother back here. And I worked a lot of jobs like Hertz in a car, Steel Tubes, Pathfinder, displays, putting storm windows, lamps. I always worked at assembly lines. When I came to Chicago, they told me in St. Louis, say, man, you can't dress like that going to Chicago. I said, what the difference in the cold gonna make, you know, in St. Louis? It get cold here. And then so one day when I had to go, I don't know, some reason I walked from 44th Street to 63rd. Man, that wind was blowing so hard. I had this little thin coat on and the pants, the pants should be short, so around the ankles. I hid behind a building. It was so cold. That wind was blowing so hard. I started crying. And I kept saying to myself, man, I ain't never felt no cold like this. I looked froze to death. When I came to Chicago and I got my mother, it was hot in St. Louis. When we got close to Chicago, it was in May and it was snowing. I said, man, how does it snowing in May in Chicago? And then when I got here, I said, do the sun ever shine here? I never seen the sun shine when I came here. I asked you, I said, do the sun ever shine here? It was always cloudy.
You stayed anyway. What the hell was wrong
Yeah,
with
I
you?
stayed anyway. What happened is I had met a singer. I never talked about Joe Cato, but Joe Cato is the one that really got me to start playing drums. And I found on Chess Records, 1967, of a song he did, I'm So Glad. I used to go and watch him perform. It was a club called Thousand Lounge on 47th Street, and I would be backstage, be beating in a chair because I was in the drum corps. And he told me, he said, man, you should learn how to play drums because you got some good hands. And that's where it began for drums. So I had a whole big jar of coins. I went to this little pawn shop on 43rd and I bought a little cheap set called a Beverly set. And I met a drummer coming out of there named Leonard Mayfield. And I got the drums and I practiced on this one tune called The Horse. I would practice when me and my mother stayed in a basement apartment, and then the police came and knocked on the door and said, hey man, somebody don't like drums here. So I stopped playing. And then one day I just started back playing again. Then the police came back again. And he said, well, I tell you the truth, by law, you can practice on any instrument from 10 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. What did he tell me that for? I went to town. And then the drummer that I met, he played in a band. His name is Leonard Mayfield. I went to see him, and he kind of like just blew me away. He played kind of like a jazz big band drummer. And so I started following him around, and then I started meeting different blues musicians and stuff like that, going to the jam sessions, and Loni Brooks is one I used to go see on Madison Street before he became famous, you know. And so one day, the checkerboard was on 43rd, a place called Peppers. And so what I did, I would go to the jam session and sit in, and I was playing the wrong beat on the song.
Oh boy.
So they came and took me off the stage, and they hurt my feelings.
Oh.
So, and then watching TV, I seen Mahavishnu Orchestra and Billy Cobham. I never seen an Afro-American playing double bass drums, and he had like tons of drums, 2 bass drums on the side. And I said, well, see, they didn't know I could read music. So Billy Cobham became my idol drummer. And that's what made me start playing double bass drums when I seen him, because I said, there's nobody on a blues set doing that. So I was the first drummer to do that. And I went in the woodshed about that. And then when I came out, then all the drummers that were coming and checking me out. And
What does that mean?
woodshed is when you go into and practice by yourself. It's going in the woodshed.
Was that a pretty easy transition for you to learn how to play, the double bass, the double kick? And was it pretty easy to apply it to the jazz or blues you were doing at the time?
Well, actually, when I went to school it was called Frank's Drum Shop downtown, and Philip Stranger was my teacher, and he wrote all the music out, like double bass drum parts, and I had to read that. I could read it, so that's how. But you have to practice and learn them, so that's what I did. And I had some great musicians that would help me into music, like a guy named Johnny Dollar. He was a guitar player. Uh, I used to go on 55th Street and take my drums, and we'd be in the backyard and just practicing drums and guitar. And then they had a group called the Scott Brothers, were a very popular group here in Chicago. And their dad, Buddy Scott, is the one that showed me how to play a shuffle. He took me under his wings, and so I learned how to play a shuffle from him. And my first professional gig, I um, I was playing, I think at the Wise Foods. That was, I don't know if you remember the Wise
Yeah,
Foods.
sure do.
I was playing there, and I don't even know how I even got this guy. Somebody told me that Freddie King needed a drummer because his drummer was sick. So that was the first professional. No, that wasn't the first professional gig. Actually, Joe Ferguson and the Vibratones was another group that I started with, but they didn't play blues. We went to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we were running late. Had 4 days to do there, and we did the show. Left all the stuff there, and somebody came back. They broke in and stole everything we had.
Oh, no.
So, so we had to play 4 days in the same clothes until that Saturday. And then that was my first experience being on the road. And then the next one was with Freddie King, which is way ahead of this time. His drummer was sick, and somebody said he needed a drummer. So I did a 4-day tour at big theaters, opening a show for Leon Russell.
What's it like uh, working with Freddie King? I mean, you've worked with other amazing blues artists as well. Buddy Guy. I mean, the list goes on. Talk a little bit about working with Freddie King and Buddy Guy and some of the blues greats you've been fortunate enough and blessed enough to work with.
Freddie King, man, like to get a gig like that with a guitar player that was way ahead of his time, it was amazing to play with somebody like that. And then we didn't have, they had roadies, and he had a big Broham Cadillac. That's what we rode in. And I re-rode in style, you know, in that big Cadillac. So they had the roadies that would take our stuff down and set it up. You know, it was kind of like living a life of, I don't know what to say, king, but for me, it was like I felt like a king, you know.
I bet.
And then after that, I used to go to Checkerboard. They had a jam, and I was sitting playing drum, and Buddy was peeping around the corner, looking at me, and then he said, "Are you playing with anybody?" I said, "No." He said, "Would you like to play with me?" I said, "Of course." So that's when Buddy Guy and Junior Wells were a team. So I played with Buddy Guy from 1976 to 1978. I recorded an album with Buddy Guy in 1980 called Breaking Out on JSP Labels, but some reason that he fell out with that label company. But that that wasn't my first recording. My first recording was with a guy named Sonny Remley. He was a trumpet player, and he played with a lot of great people. And we did a 45, 1974, and I was playing the double bass drums on that gig, and I played on the B side of it. And I just had it recorded, put it on a DVD, and I put it on my YouTube page. And people said it had a saxophone player in there. He said it sounded like Sonny Rollins. Uh, that's because it sounded like it was already into the song. So that was, I think, my first recording that I did. But now I just counted. I'm on 22 CDs. I recorded with so many people, and then I'm on 3 DVDs. You know, I'm playing the Montrose Jazz Fest with James Cotton, you know, 1983, and then I placed another festival with him. I had no idea. I don't even remember. A friend of mine has had a copy of it, and he sent it to me. It was a whole different show that I did when I played the Montrose Jazz Fest. And I wasn't sure if that was me playing drums, because I said, I don't remember playing those songs. And I said, whoever the drummer is, he's kicking on there. And then at the end, when it gets close to the end, James Cotton introduced everybody and he said, just give a hand to Merle Perkins. I said, yeah, that was me on the drums. But I still don't remember that show. It was in Schaumburg, Bremen, Germany. And it just went on from there. I played with James Cotton. And then Kenny Neal, I just found the magazine, Living Blues magazine he was in. He didn't even tell me that. And I found the picture. I thought I was with Buddy for 2 years, Buddy and Junior, and come to find out, it's a picture in there, and I cropped it. That was with Buddy Guy and Julian Wells in 1976 at the checkerboard. And I said, man, I didn't know I thought I was there for 2 years, but I was with Buddy for Julian for 3 years.
What was it like working with Buddy Guy? What did you like most about it? I mean,
well, man, Junior Wells was a character, man. That cat was so comical. One of the nicest cats. Buddy was kind of quiet, but Junior was, I mean, I remember we played My Father's in Long Island, New York, and Junior would drink. And when he curved his finger like this here, he was out there, he was up there. And we were playing, and he kept singing the same song over and over, and the sound man kept saying, cut it. And he kept doing it and doing it. And because the show was over with. So they kind of made it fun. They was to take a hook and pull him off the stage. But he finally got off stage. But Junior was a very comical person, especially when he drank.
Well, Merle, you started your own band too, Merle Perkins and the Percolators. And actually, I used to come to a lot of your gigs, and we had a blast. And you even got me up there on the drums. And so talk about how that came about.
This is the band, the Merle Perkins and the Percolators. And that's Pistol Pete. But that's not the first band that I had. This is the second. Pistol Pete was a very outstanding guitar player. How that came about is that I had played with everybody, and a friend of mine named Hassan Khan said, man, you ought to put your own band together. And so I did. I used Hassan Khan. I had a guitar player named Pete Allen. Pete Allen passed away. Hassan was playing bass, and then I had Ben Solano was playing saxophone. He played sax and harmonica. I have pictures of that. So they were kind of the first band that I had. And I did, I did I didn't have a publisher. I didn't have a manager or a booking agent. I did all my booking myself. Mm-hmm. I did everything myself. I networked with everything that I kind of got. And since I've been playing, I did it all myself.
Did you tour a lot with Merle Perkins and the Percolators? Where did you play?
And I went to Calgary, Alberta, Canada, Ontario, Canada. I played all over. What I like about Canada and Calgary and Edmonton, Canada, you could play there for like a whole week, and they've supplied the hotels. And back then, going over the border, it was pretty cheap, but it's not like that now. You had to have a visa. It costs a lot of money now to play over there. And then actually, Canadians didn't like Americans coming over there playing anyway because it was taking the work from the Canadian guys, and it's vice versa. It was the same thing. Canadians coming here and playing.
So why? How long did you have the band, and why did you stop playing?
I had the band for 7 years, and from 1990 to 1997. And the reason why I got out of it is because it's hard. Did nobody have no car? I picked up everybody in the band. I kind of like it that way, because I knew I would get to the gig. But what happened is when I was booking a gig in Alabama, and I had never played in Lafayette, Louisiana, and I was going from there. I was going to go to Kansas City and play. And a guy called me from Alabama and said he'd accidentally double booked the band, and he canceled me out. And so that means I had to drive 900 miles to go to Lafayette, Louisiana, and I had to tell the guy that I couldn't make it in my car. I had to tell the lad that my band broke down. it was kind of hard being a band leader. Then you get hard-headed cats. If they know you, they think they can do what they want to do. I had problems like that. And so I said, man, I'm getting out of this. And I did my last gig without messing anybody up. And I was more happy to get out of it when I got in it. I said, I'm going back to be a side man because I could be responsible for myself.
Merle, talk about some of the high points in your career looking back. Talk about some of those.
Well, to me, my high points of playing has been rewarded. It's been inducted to the Chicago Blues Hall of Fame 2 times, as a master blues artist. And then what happened is the Michael Packer that was from New York is the one that owned Chicago Blues Hall of Fame. And when he passed away, he had a band, and then another guy named Garland Floyd took it over. He tricked me down there. He said, man, I want you to, my car had broke down, and I caught a cab and went down there, got all dressed up and everything to support the blues. They were giving out awards. And then so I was down there and I was talking to my friend Willie Hayes, which had got an award, and his wife, and walking around. And then his wife said, don't go that far because I heard somebody gonna be looking for you or something. And then Mike Williband was playing on stage, and they said, can we call Merle Perkins on stage? I said, man, wait a minute. Call him on stage, and they had the second award for me. Garland Floyd tricked me and gave me the Floyd. He gave me my money, cab money back. He said, I got you. And that's when I got the second award, which is a legendary Merle Perkins.
No, that's wonderful.
And the first award I got was in Edmonton, Canada in 2002 as a real blues man. That's the first award that I got.
Have any stories about, when you were out in your heyday playing your drums and backing up some of these big artists? I mean, do you have any stories you want to share?
Yeah. So kind of funny, and that's why people say, man, you need to write a book or some of the stories that you had. One gig I had was with Chick Willis, which he made a 45 called Shoot Down, Baby, Let Your Daddy See. We went on the road with him for about 3 months, and we rode all the way to Cairo, Georgia. He didn't tell us we was playing out the door. And then when we played the gig, it was about 7 people there. I think we made $8 a piece. And then he had the money to pay for the hotel, so he had one room to pay for the hotel for us to wash up, and we had to sleep in the vehicle eating bologna sandwiches.
Well, how about the opposite? Give me the opposite story about one of these great big places you played at.
With Eddie, I was with Eddie Clearwater for 11 years. For 11 years, and I did a DVD with him in Poland in 2004. We played. That's the second time. The first time I went to with Sun Seals to Turkey and did a tour was with Sun Seals, and we performed in a lot of different towns there in Istanbul. And then that was in '89, and then when I got out of Sun Seals band, I got with Eddie Clearwater, and then Eddie Clearwater in 1999, I went back to Turkey again, and that was we played over there another month. So, and then playing with Eddie Clearwater, we played different Paris, France, big hotels there. We also played some small towns. I can't even think that was the biggest place I ever played. It looked like a mountain, and the stage was up here, and then way in the background, the people were down there, and that's the hugest place I ever played. And even playing with Junior, when I played in Quebec, we played in 45,000 people. And so going overseas is, when you go overseas, like, I get treated like a king over there when you go to them other countries, I mean, I have fans here in Chicago and people that care about me, but it's nothing like over Europe, in Europe, when you go to other countries, they appreciate the blues. I played in places that they don't even speak English, but they just like the blues, you know. So,
Yeah.
and then I never been to the Philippines in 2017. 2 times, Pete, my friend Pete, him and his wife were Filipino. They said, you ought to take Merle over there with you because he's a legend. They advertised me on TV. They like me a lot over there. So we're looking forward to going back again. My favorite place to play, I've been from one end to the next, is Canada. I like Canada because it's kind of like a melting pot. Everybody lives together there. You know, it's not sectioned off like the United States. I like that. And other countries are not like that. It's not like that. But, you know, United States has been like that. Always where they had Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Polish, it's sectioned off like that. Except for this neighborhood I live in, Lincoln Park, it's kind of all mixed up here. And I like that.
Yeah. That's great.
You know.
Did you show your picture of the Blast magazine? I don't think you did. Hold on. I got to go.
Oh, okay, here.
Yeah. Talk about that.
I got in that Blast magazine, you know, the guy that owned Delmar Records, Delmar Studio, has a record store, which is on Urban Park. And Louis Bell, which is Carrie Bell. Carrie Bell, his dad, I play with Carrie Bell too. I mean, I play with so many people, sometimes I forget the people that I play with. Carrie Bell, I play with his dad. I have a picture of him. What happened, Louis Bell was playing, or Heather was over there. She was playing bass, and Frank was playing guitar, and there was a guy playing harmonica. And Louis Bell was over there. It was a small record store. And so I had went by there to see them, and then I went and got my snare drum and my mallets, and I was playing with them, and then I was selling my CDs. So when I came out the store, these two guys come and said, have you got any more CDs to sell? I said, yeah. So they bought them, and come to find out, I gave my number, and they called me, and they said, we'd like to do an interview. They were from the UK. I didn't even know that. And that's how I got into Blast magazine.
Looking sharp too on the cover. Looking good.
Oh, yeah.
So Merle, I know you like to encourage young drummers. What advice would you give to a young drummer starting out that wants to learn the blues and be a performer?
Well, you know, I just young drummer from South Africa, you call him Little D Dominic. I just hooked him up with a radio interview. This little boy is 13 years old. I mean, he's so phenomenal. I mean, he's got more endorsements than I got. And um, I sent a message, and his family was so pleased to get a message from a legendary drummer, and they put it with the that I contacted them, and he said he was putting it on his wall. And today, you know, I just posted on my Facebook page this little girl doing an Eagles song, and she's playing all the parts. She's playing the lead guitar, she's playing the rhythm, she's playing the drums, she's playing the bass, and she's singing.
Whoa.
And she can't be no more than 12 or 13 years old. You know, so I'm really amazed of little kids, because that's the next generation of musicians. My advice I would give to anybody that wants to play any instrument is to, first of all, you got to be on time, you got to be humble, and you got to be dedicated to your instrument that you want to play, you know. And I tell drummers to learn your rudiments, 26 standard rudiments, because that's the scales of drums. You know, I call them the roots of drums, because you can't play a drum set without playing them. You got to learn them. You don't have to learn all of them, but I use, when I play drum solos, I use rudiments, because that's when you play with somebody, especially if they finish, is you get the sound man to record it or take your boom box. When I play with Albert King, I had a boom box, so I recorded that with Albert King. And you know, that's another guy I played with. I used to shoot food with Albert King when I was 15 in St. Louis.
Unbelievable.
You know.
So cool.
You know?
That's great advice. And you are a blues legend. And how could our audience out there, our viewers of the show, how could they stay in touch with you? You mentioned Facebook. Do you have a website, other social media? How could people stay in touch with you?
Well, I have a YouTube page, everything on me. My music CDs is all right there. I'm on Bandmix under Merle Perkins. I'm on SoundCloud. I got music on there. I'm on Reverb Nation. Uh, and I just actually I'm on Instagram too. So I network with everything. Anything I do, a new site, I'll put my stuff on there because you never know who's watching or who's listening.
Do you have a
But
website? Do you have a website,
uh,
Merle?
well, actually, this GoDaddy that I put my music on, they said that was a website. It if you go to um, Google and put in Merle Perkins Blues, you can see that website.
Merle, what an honor and a pleasure to speak with a blues legend like yourself. And I mean, and people out there just, you know, like Merle said, he's on YouTube, he is on Facebook. Stay in touch and, you know, connect with him.
Merle, this has been a blast. Thank you so much.
Everybody out there, be sure to like the Dick Biondi Film Facebook page, join the Dick Biondi Film Facebook group, subscribe to our YouTube channel, go to our website, dickbiondifilm.com. Make sure you sign up for the newsletter there. And before I depart, just stay tuned to our social media pages, because soon enough, we're going to make a big announcement and you're not going to want to miss it. We're just waiting, you know, just to finalize a few things, but when it's out there, you'll know, you'll really get a kick out of it. And Pam, it was great seeing you. And
You too, Joe.
wishing everybody out there the very best. My best to you, Merle. And everybody out there, you take care.